Assalamu alaikum Saeed Bhai and all the listeners. I hope you're all well by the mercy of Almighty Allah. First of all, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to Saeed Bhai. In this Sunday special episode on 9/10/2022, my email titled Returning After Death was read out loud. That really encouraged me to write more and share another real story. This time what I'm gonna share actually happened to me, and some parts involve my family too. If you like it, I request you to read it out again. Let's get straight to the incidents. Incident 1. It was the end of 2013 and I was in class 1. My days passed normally like any other child. Every evening, I used to beg my mother to make me something new to eat. That day, I did the same. My mom said, "Alright, you sit in the room and watch TV, I'll make you something." So she went to the kitchen and I was watching TV for about 15-20 minutes. Then I got curious. What was she cooking? So I left my room and started walking toward the kitchen. Now it's worth mentioning that my room had a small attached bathroom and there was another bathroom to the left when stepping out of my room. As I came out, I noticed the left bathroom's door was open and the light was on. I saw my mom inside, soaking clothes in a bucket. She was wearing a black and red dress. But wait, just a few minutes ago, my mom was wearing a light blue outfit. Confused, I walked toward the kitchen and to my shock, I saw my real mom there making snacks for me, still wearing that light blue dress. I was a little boy. It was natural to feel scared. But I also wondered, what did I just see? Without telling her, I ran to the bathroom again. The door was still open, the light still on, but my mom's figure was gone. When I told her everything, she said, "You must have seen wrong." But I was sure of what I saw. There was no chance I was mistaken. Then my mom recited Ayatul Kursi and blew over me. Incident 2. Some days after the first event, one night after dinner, I was getting ready for bed. I used to sleep beside my grandfather as I was still a child. Every night, my father stayed up a bit late helping my mother clean up, like moving dishes, filling water bottles, etc. He usually finished after my mom went to sleep. From my bed, I could see the dining area completely. After my father was done, he turned off most of the lights but left the dining light on. As I lay in bed, I saw no one there. But suddenly, I noticed a dark, shadowy figure, about 2-3 feet tall, walking beside a dining table. It looked solid black, almost thick like smoke. I watched it for around 10 seconds, and I knew my father wasn't there. He had already gone to bed. From my room, I could see the entire dining area clearly. That night, I couldn't sleep properly. Incident 3. This one happened to my father before he got married to my mother. He was around 20 or 21 years old then. He lived for about a year in Nali, Gazipur, managing a large poultry farm. He often returned home late at night, around 1 or 1 a.m. One night, after finishing his work, he started walking home. Even though it was late, the moonlight was bright, so the road was quite visible. Suddenly, he saw something terrifying. Around 10-12 people walking in a line across the road, but none of them had heads and blood was dripping from their necks. Alhamdulillah, my father was a brave man. He immediately recited Ayatul Kursi, blew it over himself and quickly walked home. Incident 4. This one happened about 2 months ago to my mother and grandmother, and I witnessed it too. When the first 2 incidents happened, we used to live on Jonaki Road. Now we live in Barobhag Basat housing. Anyway, my grandmother often comes to visit and stays for about a week. Around 1.5 months ago, while visiting, she and my mom were on a video call with my aunt, Nipakhala. My aunt lives in Kuril Bishwa Road, and near our house, my uncle Babu, Mama, was overseeing construction work on a new building. During the call, my mom suddenly said, "Nipa, why is Babu Bhai sitting behind you alone?" My aunt was surprised. "What are you talking about? He finished work in Menthol this evening." But my mom insisted. "I just saw him wearing a white Punjabi pajama and cap sitting behind you on a chair and he smiled at me." Then my grandmother said, "Yes, I also saw him. Nepal Bena is right."
They ended the call without talking further. Later, my father suggested calling my uncle to confirm. When my mom called, he said, "I've been home for a while. Don't worry, maybe it's just your imagination." But my aunt's house was 1 to 1.5 hours away, so it was impossible for him to be at both places in that short time. Incident 5. This happened some time ago with my father again. At night, while sleeping, my little sister was in the middle and my mom was on the side. My father woke up suddenly in the middle of the night. He saw through the window an old woman staring directly at him from outside. Keep in mind, we live on the 5th floor. He recited some duas and Quranic verses, looked again, and she was gone. He didn't say anything that night, but the next evening, he told us everything. Now, let's move to my dreams, which felt even more real. Dream 1. During 2020, when the COVID lockdown began and schools were closed indefinitely, I was spending time like most students did, lazy and bored. In my room, my bed was on the right, and my grandfather's bed was on the left. One night, I dreamt that I was standing in a vast desert at night, surrounded by army officers holding rifles and weapons. Their chief commander came up to me and said, "Take this weapon, you'll need it." I asked, "Why?" He said, trembling, "He doesn't spare anyone. He's already killed many of our men." Before he could finish, a blood-red, human-shaped creature appeared from a distance and began killing all the soldiers one by one. Finally, it came toward me. I raised my gun to shoot, but suddenly it stood right in front of me and killed the commander too. Then it turned to me, and as I stood frozen in terror, everything went dark. I must have fallen asleep inside the dream, because when I opened my eyes, I found myself lying on the floor of our old Jonaki Roadhouse. I looked toward the window, and on the balcony outside, that same red figure was sitting and staring at me. Terrified, I ran into the attached bathroom and locked the door. Through a small hole, I saw my grandmother enter the room. I felt relieved, came out, and she said, "Come home with me." We started walking out together, but suddenly that red creature screamed, "Where are you going?" It gave a horrifying laugh, like a wild beast laughing. My grandmother began reciting Quranic verses. I picked up a stick nearby and shouting, "Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah." I began striking the creature. With every strike, it grew smaller and weaker until it curled up in a corner with a faint smile. Then I woke up, drenched in sweat, heart pounding. I told my mother the next morning, and she again recited Ayatul Kursi over me and told me to read duas before sleeping. Dream 2. Saeed Bhai, you might remember the story from the Ghost USA moderators. The one about the blue stone, especially the part about the dead boy and the dom. A few days after hearing that story, I dreamt something terrifying. I was in a dark room lit only by 3 or 4 candles. Bloodstains were everywhere on the walls. On a hospital-like bed, a middle-aged dead man was lying down. Beside him stood a dom, a corpse handler, cutting and tearing the dead man's face with a sharp tool. Suddenly, the dead man stood up. By the mercy of Allah, I realized it was a dream, and I started reciting Surah Alhamdulillah. The little boy standing nearby said to me, "Be quiet, don't recite that." Then I became sure if I stopped reciting, something terrible would happen. I kept reciting, and soon I woke up to see the sky turning blue. Morning had arrived. Later, when I told my mom, she said, "You saw that because you went to sleep thinking about horror stories." Maybe that's true for the second dream, but the first one I still can't explain. I just know this. By the mercy of Almighty Allah, it was my reciting of the surah that protected me from harm. That's it, Saeed Bhai. These were some of the true incidents from my life. Whether someone believes them or not, that's entirely up to them. But as someone who experienced it, I know they were real.